Idaho gunman in deadly ambush of fire crews had idolized firefighters. Please subscribe to my channel for more interesting true crime stories across the United States. On a crisp Idaho morning, Sunday, June 29, 2025, the forested slopes of Canfield Mountain whispered in the dawn breeze. The scent of pine, dry grass, and lingering cigarette smoke drifted through early sunlight, untouched by any sign of trouble. Yet beneath this seeming tranquility, an insidious plan was quietly taking shape. Wess Roley was 20 years old, lean, guarded, but with eyes that once held a spark of ambition. Those who had known him in passing remembered him as someone captivated by the uniformed heroes of fire trucks and sirens, men and women who rushed into danger. His grandfather, Dale Roley, confirmed to reporters that Wess had vividly dreamed of becoming a firefighter himself. He loved firefighters, his grandfather said. Maybe he got rejected or something. Dale Roley in a statement to NBC News. Wess had even taken steps toward that path, contacting fire departments, trying to connect with mentors, studying procedures. But these ambitions never bore fruit. Instead, disillusionment and frustration festered. Where valor once filled his heart, bitterness began to entrench. By midday, Wess was living out of his pickup on a remote artery of rocky trail, time-worn roads winding through the Idaho wilderness. Local firefighters, Frank Harwood and John Morrison, were patrolling, headed to a vegetation fire that had been spotted near Nettleton Gulch, just north of Coeur. As they worked, they encountered Roley's parked vehicle. Implementing standard procedure, they asked him to move it to ensure access for their trucks. Wess complied, but only briefly. That exchange, so mundane and bureaucratic, began his descent into darkness. Nearly 40 minutes later, a fire took hold. Flames lapped at the slope. Smoke spiraled into the sky. Someone had struck it deliberately. Sheriff Kootenai County's Bob Norris would later confirm that investigators found a flint near where Roley died, suggesting he had not simply stumbled upon the blaze, he'd started it. His motive remains murky, yet his planning became painfully clear. He meant for first responders to arrive. At approximately 1:21 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 2021 Greenwich Mean Time, local dispatchers logged a wildfire in Nettleton Gulch. Fire crews mobilized. 20 minutes later, these volunteer and professional firefighters arrived to fight the blaze. Painted trucks rolled forward, hoses uncoiled, crews set to work. But they were not facing wild flames alone. In the heat of this high-stakes emergency, a sequence of devastation erupted. From concealed vantage, using a high-powered rifle, Wess opened fire on the assembled firefighters. The attack was swift and brutal. The residents of the nearest dispatch zone heard gunfire, close, ferocious, relentless. These firefighters did not have a chance, Sheriff Norris later stated grimly. Frank Harwood, an experienced crew member from the city fire department, was killed almost immediately. Next to fall was John Morrison, a Kootenai County fire and rescue veteran. Another firefighter, Dave Tisdall, was critically injured. In mere moments, the routine mission of protecting land had metamorphosed into a catastrophic ambush. The country's collective shock rippled outward. Within minutes, over 300 officers, from the local Kootenai County Sheriff's Office to Coeur d'Alene Police, Idaho State Police, and federal agents, were en route. 2 helicopters armed with snipers circled overhead. Firefighters on scene immediately made desperate choices. Flat tire sabotaging to keep trucks from being used against them, straining to retreat to safety and relocate injured colleagues. The wounded Dave Tisdall was whisked to a hospital, placed on life support, then said to be fighting for his life, in stable condition. Amid firefighting efforts, an effort now doubly perilous due to the presence of an active shooter, the wildfire raged on. Kootenai County's top crews were now battling flames and lethal gunfire. By late Sunday night, the flame front had grown to 26 acres, still unextinguished. No homes were in immediate danger, but the land itself was still aflame. For hours, law enforcement combed the area. The suspect's mobile phone signal provided the first significant clue. Wess had been traced to a hiking trail, a remote route used by hikers enjoying the rustic serenity of Idaho's mountains. Sheriff Norris, in a Monday briefing, described the manhunt. They used the phone ping, worked it off the tower. That's what got the resources close enough. Surrounding hills were dotted with containment lines and resolute men and women in uniform. Officers, under heavy fire, pinned Wess in a rocky outcrop. During tense negotiation attempts and a sniper overwatch, his rifle lay silent. A shotgun was eventually located near his pickup. Bullet casings, high-caliber, rapid-fire weapon fragments, were scattered across the slope. Authorities suspected he had further weaponry concealed nearby. Then, after hours of standoff, the focus turned grim. What's erupted through the quiet tension? A final shot rang out. Wess had taken his own life. His physical body was located close to where shots had erupted. A handgun lay nearby. The standoff concluded, but the trauma endured. Authorities worked swiftly to separate fact from speculation. Sheriff Norris emphasized that it was not an act linked to terrorism. Nexus to Islamic Jihad rumors? He firmly denied them. That line of speculation he called false on social media. So where did the motivation lie? Roley had been respectful when firefighters approached him to move the truck. He'd admired them. He'd once wanted to join them. Yet in certain circles, failed dreams twist into resentment. His grandfather noted, maybe he got rejected or something. Peer into that fracture. Wess had aspirations replaced by homelessness. He had limited encounters with law enforcement. 5 minor incidents, including trespassing at a restaurant. He had resided in that pickup since moving from Arizona in 2023, helping with his father's tree trimming business. Psychologists might say the moment firefighters approached triggered rage against symbols of unattainable identity. Perhaps the request to relocate his vehicle was a trigger, the last straw in a spiral that had been constructing all week, all month, all his life. Loss reverberated. Governor of Idaho ordered flags flown at half-staff throughout the state on Monday, their silhouettes mournful against dusk skies. Public memorials crystallized heartbreak. Families, colleagues, and entire fire crews grieved. The city of Coeur, Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, and the volunteer crew where John Morrison served united around heartbreak and resilience. Frank Harwood's memory was anchored by comrades who spoke of his steady hands and open heart. John Morrison, father, friend, ferocious firefighter, was celebrated with grief-stricken pride. Dave Tisdall lay in hospitals, awake but still living the impact of the ambush. Communities gathered. Social media lit with messages like, "We will never forget how bravely you fought. Thank you for risking everything." Coeur d'Alene resident, anonymous. Officials pledged review. Could flame spots be patrolled with more scrutiny? Could firefighting teams be better protected in winter and summer alike? Was there any system for checking armed threats near forest fires? Recommendations now cite behalf of better emergency protocols. Spotters trained to assess for shooters, remote drones identifying flare-ups and shadowed presences, snipers or tactical units embedded with firefighting columns in structurally vulnerable areas. The term dual threat is now being used, fires and shooters at once. Frank Harwood of Coeur d'Alene City Fire Department, known for his indefatigable approach, warm humor, fatherly guidance to rookies, and even spare tires kept ready for rescuable cars. John Morrison of Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, described as tough in stance, tender at heart, a beloved volunteer who always stayed behind to comfort victims. Dave Tisdall, now recovering. His life remains in the balance, his story part of the debt Idaho owes its heroes. Priorities for prevention. Situational awareness training for fire crews. Identifying snipers in cover zones before approaching fires in remote, rugged terrain. Tactical firefighting innovation. Fire detection drones, rapid response medevac tools, live fire protocols. Mental health evaluation for dream-defeated individuals. Early intervention for those who idolize heroes but fall off the ladder of respect. This tragic ambush tells a wider story. A story about hope and heartbreak, admiration and rage, aspiration and despair. Wess Roley's transformation from would-be firefighter into ambush attacker forces the nation to ask, what happens when dreams fade and anger takes hold? And beyond that, this is about public servants, first responders, stepping into hell so that others never must. They run into fire when the world runs out. They deserve more than gratitude. They deserve protection, planning, and memorials that persist. On Sunday, June 29th, Canfield Mountain burned in a manner no forest fire should. Severed by gunshots, stained by fallen heroes. 2 brave men died, 1 is wounded, and 1 young man destroyed himself in a valley of smoke and regret. Idaho has bent, not broken. Its flag waves at half-staff reflecting shame, loss, and a vow. We will learn. We will change. We will protect our protectors. And in the ghosts of Harwood and Morrison's courage, we see reflected the heart of what this means. First responders are the thin blue line before the fire. They deserve our memory, our respect, and our solutions. If you feel moved by this story, consider donating to firefighter memorial foundations, volunteering for first responder support groups, or advocating for greater safety standards in rural firefighting. A single lesson learned now could save lives tomorrow. Perhaps one more firefighter, one more community.